It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He's Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. This is Friday, everybody. This is exactly what it looks like. Look around. This is what a Friday looks like. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Working all day in my dad's garage. Driving all night, chasing some mirage. Well, pretty soon...
That's the excitement and the energy of the Harris campaign.
Okay.
Bruce Springsteen bringing in the heavy hitters with the joy and excitement. I got to find the longer version of the song.
Yeah.
I happen to get, I had the longer version and I played the shorter version there. I got to find the longer version because it's as depressing as a song as you could possibly imagine.
Well, that combined with the one of her other surrogates, Ms. Cheney, short for miserable. And it's just, it's interesting because Kamala Harris brings up when she was doing that thing with La Miserable. She
was miserable.
She mentioned the word despair, and I thought, why would she? Oh, she's been hanging around Liz Cheney. There's the joy.
And
there's the joy right there.
And then Clinton.
Yeah.
It's like, get him off.
Yeah.
I have never, ever seen a worse campaign.
No, it is so disorganized. It is so in shambles. It's running in all directions. Remember, I don't know, years ago when I came up with the liberals sound like 1,000 screaming kids in a gymnasium. This is like you told those 1,000 kids, okay, we're running for president. Ready, go. And then you send them all out separately because there's no gel to this campaign. There's none. There's no organization to this campaign. There's no direction.
No. I think that Carrie Lake is some kind of hot babe, I tell you. That's right.
Yeah.
I tell you, and that Kamala Harris, what did he say? Not vulnerable. What was the word he used? It was bad. I'll find it coming up here. It was bad. But the when I saw the Bruce Springsteen song when I woke up, I went, that's a damn depressing song to be playing. Play Born to Run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, for God's sakes, if you want to do it, take your most popular song.
And do not make it Born in the USA. That is a war protest song.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Everybody gets it wrong. Everybody gets that wrong.
But Born to Run, she was born to run.
Yeah.
Remember, it's her time now. She's entitled. She's a woman.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. That was used already, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's her time.
But I thought about
that.
We
mean it this time.
I thought that was just a great indicator of just how depressing it is right now in the Harris campaign.
Well, you could almost hear his lyrics changing in the song. I was born in a middle-class family. Because that's been basically the basis of Springsteen, right?
Mm-hmm.
The middle-class worker. Look, he rolls his short sleeves up. That's how hard he works.
Oh, my. And so that was just an indicator for me. I just went, wow.
Yeah.
This is really bad. And then the other thing was on all the Nazi stuff. What's his name? The former ABC political director. I got mind blank here.
Halperin.
Mark Halperin, and his focus group of Pennsylvania undecided voters. All right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 undecided Pennsylvania voters.
Yeah.
About what they think about the entire Nazi stuff. All right? Here we go.
I can't. I think part of the reason why I'm being pushed towards Trump so strongly is that I find that the Democrats and the left just keep going straight to Hitler all of the time with everything. Like it, and if it's not the left pushing Hitler, it's the right pushing Stalin. So it's like we're fighting World War II every single day for every single election. So it's so exhausting. I think it just it pushes me away from their position, and it's so hyperbolic that it makes it impossible to have good discussions, and I think it ruins the discourse.
Does anybody think it's valuable or something you want to hear from the vice president? Anybody? Raise your hand if you think this is something that's important for her to be talking about. Anybody?
No one.
Anyone?
In the 9 undecided Pennsylvania voters didn't affect any of them. In fact, pushed them more towards Trump. When the one guy said Lenin, is he saying that? Is that the right saying that she's communist? Because I haven't heard anybody in the right use Lenin. I've heard people say she's a communist.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say she's Lenin.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he was talking about there, unless that was what was in his mind.
Yeah, maybe.
But 9 undecided voters for Mark Halperin in Pennsylvania. And it's not working.
It's what I've suspected for a while, that we don't really have many they're decided. It's whether or not they're saying it out loud. That we don't have. I fully believe, and there's no way to prove it. But you see indications that, look, and also you have every reason to believe that, because it's true. There's Trump. Everything's priced in. He's a known quantity. And she's an unknown quantity. And that's not going to change. What I mean by that is no one trusts her. No one knows exactly what she's going. We do. We know what she's going to do. But voters in general don't trust her because she's all over the place. That's where we are. And I don't believe, and this has been the case with me for a while, a couple of months at least, I don't think we have any undecided voters. If there are any undecided voters, technically it's whether or not they're actually going to go and vote. And if they're having to question that at any point before the election, the answer, there's a pretty good chance that the answer is no. They're not going to vote. They're not going to show up. This is what we're seeing right now in early voting. Democrats aren't showing up for her. And that's...
Unfortunately, I wish I could believe you, but I do believe there is a small minority that does stay undecided, because there are people that just don't pay attention at all until the last couple of weeks.
Typically, that's the way it always goes down. You're right. I don't believe that this time. I just don't. I don't.
Well, I don't think there's an argument to be had, because you'd have to poll 330 million people.
That's
to
what
find out which
I just
ones,
said that. Yeah, there's no way to quantify that. But I don't believe it. There's no way you can convince me that we have any undecided voters, except for the group that's deciding whether or not they're actually going to vote. Because we haven't seen anything in months where people are... Show me where the excitement is.
Right now, none.
There's none. You're not seeing it anywhere. And with undecided voters, what you hear typically around this time is, well, I don't, because this has been the case, certainly during the Trump years, it's been, well, I don't really trust him. I don't think I could vote for him. But I'm trying to decide whether or not to vote for her or maybe a third-party candidate. Or, no, what you're hearing is actually the opposite. This is how bizarre and unique this election cycle is. And that's part of that unique quality is that, if I'm right, we've got a number of people that, in fact, most people, that undecided group that you would normally have just isn't there. It's about whether or not they're going to show up. It's not whether they're going to, which of the two major candidates they're going to support. Because it's so bad, and it's getting worse by the second. She doesn't have one surrogate. Not one surrogate. Not one. Not her Veep pick.
Not Obama.
Remember in 2016 when it started out, and in the primary season, the first few months of the primary season, it was Jeff Sessions, really. He was the first one on board the Trump train. Remember the Trump train? Mm-hmm. He was one of the first major GOPers on board. I wouldn't say he was a good surrogate. He was a good surrogate in his state or maybe his region. Maybe for the South at the time, he was a good surrogate. But there weren't. It was, there were fires everywhere. There were fires everywhere, and trying to pull together the surrogates just became harder and harder and harder until you got closer to convention. And even then at convention, what did you have? You had Ted Cruz, vote your conscience, on stage. Well, that's not gel either. But on election day, it came together. But that was nothing like what we're seeing now. That's nothing like what we're seeing now. And with Trump, it's nothing like what we're seeing now. You think about how his surrogates, every one of them, starting with his Veep pick, JD Vance, it's in fact why he picked him, because he was such a strong surrogate. Ramaswamy, Byron Donalds.
Now, we're talking about the people that are constantly out there for him. We're not talking about an occasional speaker at a rally like Roseanne.
Yeah, Roseanne doesn't really count. We all know that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the problem that it is the problem to have when nobody can really speak for you and everybody is in defensive excuse-making mode.
Well, there's a reason that her surrogates are bad. They don't know what to say.
There's no conviction from the candidate.
She doesn't. They don't know what to say because she doesn't know what to say.
Exactly. As I said yesterday, it starts with the passion and conviction of the candidate. That sets the tone for everything else. Without that, you have no fuel for your surrogates or your ground game. It's over.
She just got pounded. She got pounded yesterday for that, for the CNN town hall meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
it was horrible.
It was. I just, we'll hear more. And these are people on the left. If you notice, we're not sitting here. We haven't from the very beginning of this campaign sat there and every night come on and had partisans for Trump criticize Harris. We have we have people that have had long held Democratic credentials in the media who are being intellectually honest and saying, no, she stinks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. And I addressed that to the person who wrote us yesterday and said, and went, well, you guys aren't talking about Trump, and he had a horrible day. You talk about horrible days. He had a horrible day. Kelly, and it's like, no, you don't get it. You have a horrible day when you're on the defensive from the opposition and the people that want you to win.
The thing with Kelly, in fact, was also a boomerang for the Democrats.
And that boomerang completely. And then I woke up, and I don't know when I saw it, but I remember waking up, and when I saw that Pence's chief of staff, Pence's chief of staff came out and said, he never said that.
Right, yeah. Right.
And he didn't remember Kelly ever being alone with Trump.
Mm. Wow.
And he goes, with Trump, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was there almost all the time with him.
Right.
But very few people were with Trump alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the other point is the Kelly thing, as John Nolte pointed out from Breitbart, actually was from 2022. It already happened. He already had that accusation. This is just being rehashed. It wasn't a new accusation,
right,
as the media was attempting to promote it.
Right.
They're rehashing the same old stuff,
right,
that never went anywhere.
Right.
And you can see with the Mark Halperin Pennsylvania undecideds, it's not the only thing it's doing is pushing undecideds more likely to Trump.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. As the seasons change, so does truck maintenance. Cold weather can affect everything from your batteries and your air brake system to tire inflation and fuel lines. Make sure your tires are ready to roll through winter with the following maintenance tip. Underinflation is a leading cause of tire failures during winter because when the temperature drops, so does your tire pressure. Check your tire pressure before every trip to ensure they're properly inflated and to get the best footprint and traction on the roads. Conduct daily visual tire inspections to make sure you haven't picked up harmful debris on the road. Find a trustworthy tire service provider today so you'll be ready as the seasons change.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. Here's Eric Harley, and he's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Good morning.
I need some drugs.
Yeah?
Caffeine.
All right. Okay.
I just been too busy to get coffee.
Mm-hmm.
This is Anderson Cooper. Yesterday, all right?
Yeah, all right.
On the mood of the left, furious that he's even asking her questions. Here it is.
This country where, you know what, I got so many, I don't look at comments about myself, but I was looking up some comments about my grief podcast, and I came across this whole inundation from people who are Harris supporters saying to me online today, like, how dare you, what a betrayal that you would ask her these questions.
No,
and I'm like,
your job.
You misunderstand what my job is. I'm not on MSNBC, or I'm no disrespect. What they do is they're very talented, but I don't watch it. I'm not interested in watching what these overpaid blow-dried anchors think, and I include myself in that overpaid blow-dried, although I don't blow-dry. I am overpaid, but I'm not interested in the anchor's opinion. I'm interested in facts and letting the viewers make up their own mind. So anyway, I'm sorry this devolved.
Wow.
I agree. Highly overpaid.
Wow.
I don't blow dry. Wow. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let me translate that into plain English. I'm not falling on this sword. I'm not dying on this hill. There may be liberals that run in the future that I'm willing to go to battle for. This ain't one of them. That's what you just heard.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. We made it to Friday already. My God, it's just flown by. It really has. I want to go back a couple of. I said this Monday. We're just going to be playing audio cuts for the next couple of weeks because it's it's indicative of what we think, and I know matters because we analyze it for our listeners. But the fact is, the real key here, as we've said before, is what the strategy is and what loyal Democrats who are being intellectually honest think what's going on. That's how you get your clue. How are they behaving? Plus, in the campaign, what's going on? And this is Halpern again, talking yesterday on his podcast. I don't know who the guest is. But they're all on the left, as we all know. But here it is.
How could the staff?
Okay, we got to play that again because we cut off the front. Here we go.
How could the staff not have her have better answers to these questions? She's gotten 15 mulligans, and her answers, as Dan just characterized it, and as David Axelrod said, word salad last night. How could it be that she's not prepared to answer these questions better?
She's largely known to over-prepare, is my understanding. I mean, there's that notorious donor dinner where she did some sort of a mock dinner. So, I mean, when she's on her talking points, when she's able to put them in a basket, when she's able to talk about what she's done with narcotics, she's pretty good. But the problem is that it always seems like during the headlines, it always seems like this is a surprise question, kind of as Dan mentioned before. But I think part of the issue is she's unwilling or unable to create any daylight between her and Joe Biden.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah,
that part is true.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one that I wanted to get here? Let's just see here. I wanted to get the one where it's a very short audio. Oh, here it is. Very short audio cut. From the panel discussion on CNN. All right. And this is where it's going.
Yeah.
This is where the campaign, it looks like, is going to go for the next 12 days.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's clear when we've got 12 days to go. Trump's closing message is going to be Kamala broke it. I will fix it again. And Kamala's closing message is Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. Well, I think it's clear when we've got.
There it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
Went into a loop.
Well, and that's it. They're trying to build the fear and hatred for Trump all over again. Even bringing up the Kelly comments. They have to go dig in the archives to find something, anything, and anything that works. Grab anything that looks like it would start the smallest fire and go with it.
Now, what I noticed yesterday, and I believe there may be a calculated shift in the Trump campaign, is yes, they're still going to attack, but there were two things yesterday. One came from Trump and one came from JD Vance. And it was Trump saying that he would consider a pardon for Hunter Biden, but said Joe will probably do it. And I thought about this. I went, well, yeah, if you say you might do it, then the Democrats are really going to encourage Biden to do it, because the last thing that they want is, if you become president, that you show compassion. But when he said that yesterday and said, look, I don't want to do what they've done. I don't want to do lawfare against them. And he's made that clear a couple of times over the last week. And then JD Vance said this yesterday. Here we go.
To me, the biggest threat to democracy is the rising tide of censorship. The idea that we should be trying to silence our fellow Americans rather than persuade them and talk to them. That's always going to lead to people being pissed off, because they don't like to be told what to think or what to say. They like to talk to one another. And that's one thing that I'll always commit to. As you're vice president for the next 4 years, I'll always try to talk to people. We'll go out there and we'll do events with people who disagree with us. We'll answer questions from people who don't always see eye to eye. But I think if we set the tone at the top, the leadership of this country is all about communicating with one another. I think that's how we start to heal the divide, but we all have a role in it. And one final point I'll say about this, and, the don't get too personal all the time, but, one of the things I've seen, especially from, some of my wife's friends and some of my friends, is that they disagree with us on politics sometimes. They'll get very personal about it. And if you're discarding a lifelong friendship because somebody votes for the other team, then you've made a terrible, terrible mistake and you should do something different. Like, don't cast aside. Like, most of my family obviously is going to vote for, Donald Trump and JD Vance. And if they're not, actually, I need to talk to them. But I've got friends who like me personally, acquaintances who aren't necessarily going to vote for me. That doesn't make them bad people. And we can't, this is my most important advice, whether you vote for me, whether you vote for Donald Trump, whether you vote for Kamala Harris, don't cast aside family members and lifelong friendships. Politics is not worth it. And I think if we follow that principle, we'll heal the divide in this country.
Combined with Trump's response yesterday, I think they've said, look, for the next 2 weeks, they're going to be unhinged. Let's not be unhinged.
Well, that's it. And it's it's not a new approach by conservatives, but sometimes the media treats it as if, oh, there's something different going on. But all right, look, if you know how Trump talks, he says something at a rally, like he was talking with Hugh Hewitt. He was on with Hugh Hewitt, and they were talking about the Hunter Biden thing. And then they got, he got to the whole thing of, because the accusation of, he's going to round up his political enemies and everything else. And he said, look, people were shouting lock her up when it came to Hillary. I made sure that didn't happen. And you get to what the reality is, and he's had his blowhard moments. That's kind of who he is. You have to look at that and then temper it for, okay, what's the translation from that? All right, look, nobody's above the law. But he's the poster child for lawfare, political lawfare. You see it right now. He's the target. He is the target. And he actually said that in the interview. Even with everything thrown at me, I'm not going to take, the idea of pardoning Hunter Biden. I'm not going to take that off the books, because he was basically saying that the conviction of Hunter Biden ultimately is bad for our country. It's not that he loves Hunter Biden or Joe Biden. It's, is it good for the country? And we can have that debate whether there should be a pardon or whether, there shouldn't be. But the idea that he's actually entertaining all of this and having that conversation in a real conversation, and what you heard from JD Vance. And I think JD Vance is right. And I have that same practice. Well, no matter who people in my family, no matter who they vote for, my friends and family, I don't talk to any of them. I cut them all off, regardless of who they vote for.
And that's my point was not to get into a discussion of whether, because we don't know what's going to happen, because I don't think Trump would do he's not going to do a preemptive pardon. I'm sure Trump would let him go through the process of being found guilty if he did it. But it's not whether, once he goes to trial, whether he does it or not. That's a discussion for the other day.
That's exactly what I was just saying.
Right.
Yes.
It's about the politics right now of it. How do you go through the last 12 days? They're going to be unhinged. They're going to be screaming Hitler every day. It's not working for them. And what you start saying now, especially if you believe you've got your base sewn up. And so what are you looking for? You're looking for still right to the last day, any of those people who, and I'll use your terminology, may not go to the polls, and you can get them going to the polls because they may lean your way by stating, look, they're unhinged, and we're telling you that, no, we don't want to continue this. And Trump, by the way, the media hasn't covered this because Trump's been saying this for a while now, that, look, I'm not going to do the same thing. The lawfare is hurting the country. And he has said it over, and the mainstream media is not going to cover it, but he's been saying it. And now you've got, Vance, and then Trump being on Hugh Hewitt. That's actually getting news now. It's actually getting out there. And if it gets on social media, it gets out there.
Yeah, like I said, we can have the conversation on whether Hunter should be pardoned or not. It isn't about that. It's the conversation he had with Hugh Hewitt in that setting, and the conversations you've heard from him over the years, if you're actually paying attention to what he's saying, what he's actually saying, not what the media says he said. JD Vance, the same thing. What you heard from JD Vance is the approach by many conservatives. I know people who will never vote Republican or never vote for Trump. I don't shut them out. There may be other reasons that we don't talk, but it's not that reason. There may be other reasons where we don't connect, but it's not that reason. And I think you're hearing that for a couple of reasons. I think it's who both of them are. I think that's just who they are as individuals, but also because they know right now, what are you hearing from the left? You're hearing the ultimate fear building used with lies. He's Hitler. He's a fascist. He's Hitler. He's a fascist. He's a hit. And then the lawfare itself is built on a series of lies and then put into action in the process of law and order. Think about how big that is, what it takes to actually bring cases. And we've said from day one on the 34 counts from Alvin Bragg that should have been thrown out. I mean, this is the approach. Look at the difference in the approach. That's exactly what Trump was getting to. Look, everything that they've thrown at me. This is bad for the country. And he's absolutely right. Nothing else gets done until we decide as a nation, no more of this. We're not going to become a banana republic. We're not going to use the DOJ, lawfare, and the FBI to go after our political enemies. And it's relentless. It's been from day one. They promised it. The Democrats promised it, and they did not lie about that.
And that's the problem for the Democrats right there.
Yep.
Number one, nobody buys the Hitler thing because Trump has been in office already.
Exactly.
They know what he did. And number two, on the lawfare, what they're accusing Trump might do is what they've already done. And people realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And then thirdly is, inflation's still killing people.
Yep.
It's still killing people. And I'll have to play the Atlantic writer coming up here who said, well, the reason that Trump is doing better is it's a whole education thing. Basically, blacks and Hispanics aren't educated, and so the educated people are voting for Harris, and the non-educated people, which include the blacks and Hispanics moving across it, just aren't educated enough. Like, oh, my God. keep that narrative.
Yeah.
Because they're not educated, they're brainwashed.
Right.
And if you want to know it, did you see any of the Ben Shapiro in the debate with college students?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
You see why you can't communicate because you see deflection from these kids all the time. He makes the solid point, and they deflect to something else. They keep deflecting and change. They cannot. That's why it's almost impossible to debate with the left. There is no consistency. There is no connecting the dots. There is no critical thinking. It's all rage and emotion.
Well, and you hear that from the liberal activist media. They're always, when somebody is on, when Jennings at CNN or a conservative guest is on, they're always going, yeah, but, and then they don't actually argue the point that was just made. They deflect to something else.
Yeah.
Because they have nothing.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. It would always be about this time right now, a couple of years ago, just to show you how the topics that are talked about in society have changed a little bit. This would be the time that people would start talking about, all right, who's going to give employees off for Thanksgiving? Remember that?
Yeah. Well, actually, I did see something yesterday. And
oh, did you?
I was going to bring it up, and I thought, well, okay, this is an indication that at least this media group believes the election is over. You know, I said the other day, I was joking, well, the election is over because I went and early voted. Well, the New York Post had the story on Neiman Marcus.
Oh, yeah.
Taking Christmas off of the Christmas book. And they changed it to holiday, but didn't put the word holiday on the cover. Oh, New York Post must believe the election is over, too.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Here we are.
We're in 11 days now.
Yep.
11 days.
Yep.
Meanwhile, last night, the joy and excitement continues for the Kamala Harris campaign.
Yeah.
As I have a longer music cut of the excitement and the incredible excitement and passion of Bruce Springsteen, the boss, singing a song at the rally.
All right.
Up all right, say you gotta stay hungry. Well, I'm just about starving tonight. I'm dying for some action. I'm sick of sitting around here trying to write this book. I need a love reaction. Come on now, baby, give me just one look. You can't start a fire sitting around crying over a broken heart. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark, can't start a fire worrying about your little world falling apart.
There you go.
Well, all we're lacking is Courtney Cox.
I was thinking the same thing.
Being pulled up on stage to dance.
Where's Monica?
Just pull her up there, you know, and start dancing.
I didn't know it was the same song till he sang Dancing in the Dark.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. By the way, did the rest of the band go, we're not behind Kamala?
Oh,
little Steven going,
my.
Yeah, I don't think so. You would think something positive, you know, something uplifting, something motivating. You know, Kid Rock at the Republican convention saying, you know, his first big one, Cowboy. I mean, it's one of those songs that if you're into that kind of music, it will get you going. And it's a good, you know, it's a pep rally song, man. It's you know, it's got all that drive. It's loud. It's, you know, it's kind of, you know, positive forward movement kind of thing. You know, the song has tons of energy. You bring out an acoustic. And by the way, a song with the band, I don't know why you would do Dancing in the Dark. Like we said last hour, Born to Run.
Born to Run, yeah.
What are you doing? Maybe he did that, and we didn't see the audio from that. But you should do it in the way that the song does it, in that tempo, with that cadence. When you bring it down again, it feels like backstage you had a conversation with Liz Cheney. And she's like, could you take some of the positivity out? Because I just don't think this is the place or time.
Apparently, from what we've been told, the Harris campaign has put in a call to Fleetwood Mac.
Man, did you hear in the years after that?
Yeah.
We regretted that.
Yeah.
Almost immediately. Almost immediately. It not just that the song was used, but they got up there on stage, and what was that? The inauguration? And
don't stop thinking about
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
I know why the candidate wants to use it, but you got to be careful. Here's another thing. Look, Kid Rock doesn't really care because he's gotten himself into some trouble, and he's talked about it. Negative feedback, that kind of thing. Not real trouble, but maybe there's that too. I don't know about fights at a Waffle House. But the problem that you have if you're an artist is that you do that endorsement and then all of a sudden, something happens and it's like, whoa, yeah. One day you're wearing an O.J. Simpson jury or jersey, and then it's the O.J. Simpson jury. It's, you got to be careful about your endorsements. You and I have often said, we don't, the kind of endorsement, political endorsement, man, it would have to be, we know each other enough if either of us were going to run for office, or our dads, if they had ever run for office.
Yeah,
but
that's about it.
It's, it's a big commitment. You're going in full on, and if you're an artist, I think the Fleetwood Mac is just one case of some artists going, yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. It's not like clearly not the end of your career, and you don't own it if something happens, but you kind of do on the left. They go full on in their endorsements because they really they try and turn, the rock stars try and turn the nominee or the candidate into a rock star. And
I think
it doesn't really work.
I saw Lindsey Buckingham is the one I saw talking about that.
Yeah.
And he's really just really regret.
Yeah.
Regret. It's Friday. Give me another shot of vodka.
Yeah.
We regret.
Mm-hmm.
I do sound like the cartoon character, don't I?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you who I'm going to vote for, but I really don't get involved in endorsements. Right. We never have, because I don't think anybody cares who they care the reason I may vote for someone, but an endorsement, on any politician, we tell you what we don't like. And we do this all the time. Well, I'm going to vote for this person, but I don't like this, and this, but it's better than that candidate, this, and this.
In fact, long before an endorsement, which, again, isn't going to, political endorsement isn't going to happen from me. What's more important to me is that the rank and file from the other side look at how all of this came to be. And if I'm looking to do anything, it would be change the hearts and minds, or convince people, have the conversation with people about how we get here, about how things get broken, about how we get high inflation, and the decisions we make to get here, and the decisions needed to change it and fix it. And it really goes outside of any party or any campaign or candidate. It for me gets down to, because we've always said, everybody talks, well, term limits, and the GOP, in fact, has been saying that in recent months. We believe in term limits. We believe, all right, but if you're talking about, House and Senate term limits, you can have that conversation. But that state and or district, it's the people that send them there. Nancy Pelosi's district is going to send us the next Nancy Pelosi. It's not going to be any different from her district. Districts do change.
Well, Barbara Boxer out, Adam Schiff in.
Exactly. Yep.
And, I'm sorry, I haven't seen the polls, but I don't think Garvey's close.
Yeah,
in that one.
Yeah.
And
the last time I looked at one months ago, it wasn't close. Yeah.
And, I just wanted to mention this. Did you see, I was like, wow, we live in such a bizarre world. It was footage of a Kid Rock concert from last week.
Mm.
And everybody is singing God Bless the USA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
This is the Kid Rock that came out in the 90s,
Right.
and now everybody's at his This is like going to a Alice Cooper contest and getting VIP tickets to talk to him afterwards. You need to go back, and he's showing you how to use the 9-iron from 130 yards out.
Right.
You got to take the 9-iron and put it out. What about, or just like almost like what he became, which is still fine. I mean, I love Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you've ever seen you and I both watched what was the movie about hired guns.
Hired Guns. Mm-hmm.
And he hires the best musicians.
Mm-hmm.
They said there's nobody who hires better musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, when I saw that, I went, I'm going to see if there's anything on YouTube. And I found something on YouTube, and I watched the concert, and I went, that's not Alice Cooper. It's almost a grunge band.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like the cross between a grunge band and Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
But it was his songs, so you related to it, but it was a lot harder and clearer and very precise.
Yeah.
And then doing all the stuff of the guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
I just sort of laugh because I remember in like 72, 73, might have even been earlier, my cousins were going to an Alice Cooper concert, and all the parents were saying, this guy is the devil. Now it's like he's a Christian talking about golf all the time. It's just like, wow.
Well, before he got sober, he had some demons. We'll say that.
Oh, yeah.
But, he talks about that openly.
Oh, man.
There's a recent interview with a Christian podcaster that he did, and he talks about his faith. And he talks about his music, and he talks about the idea of the character of Alice and how at the end, there's this redemption. And if you follow, there's actually a kind of a storyline that goes on. It's theatrical. And there's a storyline, and he talks about that in the interview. It says, look, no, I actually have to remind Christians, my fellow Christians, that these, the storyline is about redemption, about what Alice goes through. And so, you look at that, but yeah, that's, my oldest daughter went to a Kid Rock show this past summer or spring, several months ago. And I texted her the next day. I said, well, how was it? She goes, it was a rally. It was, she said it was loud as you would expect. And it was good. She went with her cousin, and her cousin is my niece, a huge fan. And my daughter, she's not one that goes out and buys Kid Rock or listens to Kid Rock on streaming or anything like that. But she's clearly familiar. And she said, no, it was great. Actually, it was loud. But it was, it was a rally.
When I just saw by the way, it's not a negative comment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bizarro world.
Yeah.
Remembering when Kid Rock first came out, and here we are. What is it? Almost 30 years later, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, almost 30 years later. Because he was at Woodstock in 93, 94? Was he the 98, 99 one?
I think it was later.
Okay.
I think it was. I don't think he was at the first anniversary.
But it was the mid-90s when he came out, so we're close to 30 years. And I would have never thought when he came out that 30 years later, you'd have the entire audience. And it was a big audience. I mean, you're talking about, I don't know, 30, 40. It was an outdoor show.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all singing God Bless the USA from Lee Greenwood. And I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
What alternate universe am I in?
Right.
What is and it's all good, but it was not expected. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, I didn't expect this.
Right.
It's just bizarre. But I'm telling you, having Springsteen on, that it was so bad. It really was bad. you're sitting there listening to going, could you be any more depressing? Could you bring Liz Cheney? Could she sing? Could she sing backup vocals for you?
Well, again, we're told, joy, joy, joy. That lasted for what? That they're not saying that anymore. It was around the convention, and it lasted for a couple of days during convention week, their convention, and it was like, yeah, okay, well, they're going to try and go with the positive thing, and they're trying to put because back then it was all pictures. There were no sit-down interviews yet. And then, that went south quickly. That went away quickly. And because you saw the images and videos of her VPIC, Tim Walz, and mind your own damn business, it's like, wow, that doesn't sound like joy. And all the other things that go along with it. And then you get the most miserable person, that you can find in the Republican Party as to endorse you. And she brings her dad, the devil. And it's like, what are you doing? Where's the joy? Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll perk it up. We'll get Springsteen to tone his songs down and make them horribly depressing. That'll work. 11, 12 days out. Wow. What the hell?
866.
What the hell?
One more
Seriously.
time. 866-90-RED.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators with authority generally have two options when it comes to sourcing freight. Brokers on the spot market or directly from the source, the shipper. As any trucker with relatively recent experience with spot freight knows, the highs of working the load boards can be really high. On the other side of that coin, however, when the market flips in favor of shippers, it can be tough to keep your business afloat working with brokers. The smallest carriers with direct customers, however, can hang on through tough times or even prosper, as long as demand for their customers' product remains at least somewhat stable. Owner-operators in it for the long haul make direct business with customers a principal goal. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, I got to find the audio cut. Harris is not going to go on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
No, her schedule won't allow it.
I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. You know why? Because Rogan will do 2 or 3 hours. I mean, most of them are in the area of 3 hours, and they start rolling, and then it's on. They don't. I don't know if they've ever edited any of their. It would be extremely rare if he's ever edited any of those podcasts. That's what you hear. Even when the guest will get up sometimes and have to go to the restroom, sorry, that's just the way it is. And I said to you off the air, I don't know if we talked about it on the air. The thing about it is, she can't do a half hour.
She can't do 15 minutes.
She's not going to be able to. 3 hours with Rogan?
Where he can follow up with follow-up questions.
Are you
say,
kidding
you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question. And if you've seen Rogan, whether you agree with it, because at times they get into conspiracy stuff. And remember, Rogan was a supporter of Bernie Sanders, so he can be all over the place at times. But they do have, setting that aside, they do have vibrant discussions going back and forth where the guest is encouraged to be aggressive.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just, she can't do that.
Nope.
It's impossible for her to do that. Coming up, following the bottom of the hour, where the campaign is at right now. I was thinking about this yesterday. And, remember, this goes back, I don't know, 10 years ago. 12 years ago, 15 years ago, when you and I were on together and we said, damn it, the Republicans need to make an outreach and go into minority communities and go into minority media, and they need to make the case for where they stand on the issues. And then Rand Paul did it, what, about 6-7 years ago? And we said, okay, fine. He went to Howard University.
Right.
And it was like, there was still a whole thing. Why is Rand Paul on? You know, they were still upset.
Yeah.
Now it's normal.
Yeah.
Now it's normal for Republicans to do it. That's a huge problem for Democrats.
Yeah.
We'll get into that coming up.
Powered by windmills and solar panels. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. You know, I thought this was interesting. This was written by Brett Weinstein yesterday. Brett Weinstein, if people don't remember, he was a professor at Evergreen University. Remember when they wanted to do a thing where it was basically white people couldn't come to the campus that day.
Yeah, right.
And he just said, no, we can't have this. And he protested it and ended up getting a settlement and leaving the college because of it.
Right.
And then remember, he moved to Portland and then had to move away from Portland saying, this is nuts. Now, he's a self-described liberal, now a liberal, progressive, left libertarian, according to Wikipedia. But he was always a Democrat, always. And he's been on, we mentioned Rogan. He's been on Rogan before many times. And by the way, when he's on, they have, who was he on with? Oh, he was on with Jordan Peterson one time. That was just fantastic. It really was.
Yeah.
The conversation going, I think Rogan was going, I'll just sit back and watch this.
Right. Yeah.
But he wrote this yesterday. Kamala Harris is so catastrophically bad at answering basic, predictable questions that people endorsing her have, I believe, been left without a plausible explanation for their support. If you vote for Harris, you are accepting some form of extra constitutional rule in which we are not even entitled to know who is actually making presidential decisions on our behalf. Yes, that was already true under Biden, but if you trusted CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times, maybe, just maybe, you didn't know how out of touch President Biden was until the debate with Trump. It's a great point. I'm open to the possibility that I have failed to escape my own filter bubble and have somehow missed a credible argument for Harris, but someone will need to make the case, and I don't want to hear about the horrors of Trump or the Biden administration miracles. I want to hear an argument for supporting Harris herself, specifically one that is based on her capacity and not dependent on immutable characteristics. If that case can't be made, then at the very least, Democrats should be ready to burn their party to the ground for sticking them with such a weak candidate in an election that most on both sides believe to be profoundly important for the nation. Wow.
Well, it's clearly in different words, but exactly what we've been saying. We're not seeing any pro-Harris energy. Look, you didn't see any in 2020 either, but the world was wrapped up in COVID. And so it was easy for them to hide Biden and then just build the imagery of him and then build the hatred for Trump all along the way. And when people are especially miserable and frightened, as they were during that part of COVID, think about that. Between March and November of 2020, people were living in fear because of the response to COVID,
Right.
not necessarily the actual effects of COVID. And when they're already living in fear, it was easy to build more fear against Trump, which is how people voted. So then you wash all of that away, and now you look at it. Well, where's the energy that is pro-Harris? Because people are now looking toward the future. They're looking, okay, how are we going to fix this? I think a lot of them, by the way, and it was mentioned earlier, but it's something we have said, they can't fix the problem because they cause the problems. But they can't fix something that they broke. I think the cut with JD Vance, I think, is the one where he said that they're not capable of fixing what they broke. And I think a lot of people realize that part of it, too. That's, I think, a big driver. But there's no pro-Harris energy. There's none.
Well, why would there be? You know, you and I have talked about what this election was about months and months ago, and nothing has changed.
Right.
Nothing at all has changed. And we were very blunt months and months and months and months on inflation and immigration years. We've been saying this, you know, since probably a few months into the Biden administration, that they caused these problems.
Yep.
It's not, the situation is not that outside events happened that they weren't able to solve. It wasn't okay, you know, you're going to work as an engineer. Now, you didn't cause the problem, but you got to fix it.
Right.
Here's the problem. You got to fix it. This is a situation where the people in control caused the problems.
Yep.
They caused the problem at the border. They caused inflation.
Yep.
And I'm going to play this from Frank Luz because he's talking about the fact that basically immigration and affordability is it. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no other thing that you could, especially said for the 4%. He said there's 4% of people that are undecided. He calls them something else here. Let me play the audio cut.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay.
It's not an issue. This is a great question. It's what she's going to do in the first hour, the first day, the first week, the first month, and the first year. Not what her objectives are, not even her priorities, but which legislation is she going to push first? Which ideas, which platforms, elements she's going to ensure gets discussed in the first week.
And what do you think they should be?
It's all about immigration and it's all about affordability, and nothing else matters except for those two issues among the voters who are still waiting to make up their minds. I call them persuadables. It's only 4% of the electorate, but they can still be used and moved in these swing states. And it's up to her to be explicit about what she will do from the moment she is sworn in.
And he said, he goes, it's an election about the future. He goes, but the past does affect it because the past, he said, look, it's all about the future, not the past. But it is about the past because she comes from an administration that caused the problem.
Yeah.
They caused the problem, and they're trying to find out, what are you going to do differently than Biden? And she says nothing. Now, we have said that this election is different. For the longest time, we've been saying this election is different because this is the first election in my lifetime in modern American politics where no longer are we arguing hypotheticals. We're not arguing the Democrats saying, well, if we raise the minimum wage or taxes, it's not going to affect anyone. In 5 years from now, you'll be doing great. Here's our 5-year plan. Inflation hit.
Yep.
It hit. It was caused by the government. We know it was caused by the government. Both sides agree to it because we know the Obama economists told Biden, don't do this.
Yep.
Democrats, don't do this. And we warn the Democrats, saying what you don't understand is it's better that you go into a recession than you have inflation because a recession affects some people. Inflation affects everyone, and it doesn't go away soon because you can't lower the prices. Remember, even over the summer, there were people saying, well, the Fed's going to lower the interest rates, and then everything will be fine as we go into the election. We're like, no, it's not.
And now you've seen mortgage rates are on the rise.
Yeah. Mortgage rates, 4 times increased here in the last few weeks?
Right.
And And so they caused it, and the people know it. And it's like, look, your guy caused the problems.
Yep.
Because it's not about whether you can, it's not just about whether you can fix the problem. It's because your administration caused the problem. You say you agree. There's nothing you would have done differently than Biden. You just said it.
Yeah.
You said it.
Right. And
then people ask what you're going to do, and you just pivot right to Trump or word salad that doesn't make any sense because it is such a generalized answer, which people look at and clearly think, okay, you're avoiding the answer. Or, as Democrats were saying yesterday, she looks like she's a deer in the headlights for every question, like it's the first time she's ever been asked that question, and she doesn't know what to do. That's the problem. Now, the question is, what's the answer to give? You notice Luntz never talks about the answer that she has to give in order to win. He just says she's got to be precise of what she's going to do. Well, what would that be?
Right.
She already tried it.
Yep.
The thing would be reject everything that Biden did and what Democrats are doing and what Democrats are about. Yeah. She can't do that.
No, she can't. And, it's interesting watching many of the people in the media do the same thing. Well, if she'll just be more precise, if she would just give the answer that would blah, 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 blah. And they're trying to be ambiguous. And what they're actually saying is she has no clue. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Because the way you fix it is you have to reject everything that Democrats believe. Because the polls show the American public, by landslide numbers, disagrees with where you stand on the issues.
Yep.
And that's the problem. Now, have you heard anybody in the mainstream media address it that way? No, you don't hear that. And we've been addressing it for a couple of years since inflation hit and the border surge.
Yep.
And it's like obvious. And they sit there in their own delusional, bizarro world like this is simply about, well, he's a showman and she's not as much of a showman, and that as if the issues have nothing to do with it.
Right.
When for the first time in modern American political history, and I looked at that over the last, 50, 60 years, finally, government policy has hit the reality of economics. And when it comes to the border, that reality, because of Governor Abbott, and because of Governor Abbott, and also because, remember, the majority of the migrants were shipped around the country by the federal government, by Biden. But it was the governor of Texas, and initially, too, the governor of Florida, that moved migrants around who wanted to go. And all of a sudden, you're seeing all these different cities that are having this problem. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just border cities. Now it was large Democrat cities. You see the money? The story was at New York Post. $150 billion has been spent. And that money's coming out of the city coffers for their own citizens.
Well, and also the brilliance of, or the effect, I'll just say, of Governor Abbott and what he did, and also DeSantis and his involvement in it, is it got the liberal activist media talking about it and covering it. They weren't covering it when as you mentioned, the majority of that was happening at the hands of the federal government, the Biden administration. But the liberal media wasn't covering that. They were covering it. They started covering it in those cities, the destination cities, because mean old Governor Abbott was sending them there.
Remember, we're going to go after him for kidnapping. Remember Newsom?
Yep.
We're going to go after him for kidnapping, right? He's kidnapping. No, this is all voluntary. What they wish to do. This is and then the effects started hitting, and then the news got out there. Well, wait a minute. What Governor Abbott's done is just a little drop in the pond compared to what the federal government has been doing all this time. So actually the liberals covering it actually went against them, and they thought they had a great argument to really help destroy DeSantis and Governor Abbott, and it just blew up in their faces. But these are all things that they caused that is now reality. But you caused it. It's not that you couldn't solve the problem. You could look at Jimmy Carter and say, well, okay, there's a lot of stuff that he was handed. He just can't handle the foreign stuff. He just can't handle it. And then inflation was still huge at that point. He just can't handle the problems that, inflation's been going on for a while. All the different wars and everything else that we're in, and the Middle East. It's just over the top of his head. He just can't do it. That was the mindset back then. Here, it's a realization that these problems didn't exist, and the Biden-Harris administration caused the problem. So, of course, she can't fix it. And the Democrats agree with what Biden did, so she can't come out against it.
Exactly. And that's, that it's incredible to watch all of this play out, and mind-boggling how bad this campaign is. They're just bad.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. A little more audio coming up. Yeah, we told you the story about mortgage rates going up. We'll have the latest on that one. Here's a headline. Ready for this one?
Okay.
Canada to significantly reduce immigration as Trudeau caves to public pressure as his poll numbers crater.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tanking.
Canada to significantly reduce immigration.
That's racist.
Trudeau is a racist and a xenophobe.
Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm chuckling because it's a Friday, so I've got to read some of the headlines from the Babylon Bee.
Yeah. What do you got?
Here we go. Frustrated Democrats to consider letting voters pick the presidential candidate next time.
It's funny because it's true.
Democrats explain Trump was going to be Hitler during his first term, but he forgot.
He just forgot. This time, he's gonna
remember this time that he's Hitler. Tulsi Gabbard finally realizes she's far too attractive to be a Democrat.
Also funny because it's true.
Worst allegation yet. Women claims in 1993 Trump touched her inappropriately with classified documents while praising Hitler. And finally from the Babylon Bee, 9 ways Trump is exactly like Hitler. Number 1, they both wore pants.
I love it.
Number 2, Hitler had a mustache, and Trump probably could have had a mustache if he didn't shave for a few days. 3, if you rearrange the letters in the name Trump while eliminating the U-M-P and adding H-I-L and E, it spells Hitler. Number 4, both reportedly breathe air.
Yes.
Number 5, both most likely ate food to survive. Coincidentally, so did Saddam Hussein. Number 6, did we mention that they both breathed air?
Repeat one, yeah. Oh, I love it.
Oh, my gosh. It's just... Oh.
Well, you know...
let me get to number 8.
Okay.
Hitler was an artist attempting to paint masterpieces, and Trump was in the masterpiece work of art Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. This is no accident. And number 9, the media constantly refers to both of them as Hitler. Case closed.
Case closed. It must be true. The brilliance over there from the minds at the Babylon Bee, and pointing out there, honestly, how far out of the way they have to go on a couple of the headlines there, and especially this list, the 9 ways that he's like Hitler. They go out of their way. It's the funny, the humor resides in the actual fact that the media and the liberals have to go out of their way to compare him to Hitler and all of this. And, that's what I love about dissecting humor and what's great. But what I especially love about the way they do it at the Babylon Bee is that they're on point. They're, again, funny because it's true. I mean, the headline about, they're actually frustrated Democrats actually considering letting the voter decide who the nominee will be next time. And that's hilarious because it hits right at home with where they are right now and how flawed their process, which, by the way, isn't the process. We heard from the West Texas delegate for the Democrats who called us and said they did not follow the process. And I'm not, I'm not going to, as a delegate for the party, I'm not going to be casting my vote for her. And they come up with their own. They make up the rules as they go along, and so all of these points here that are made at the Babylon Bee, through humor are solid because they go, out of their way on the absurdity level because, quite frankly, and we've said, my gosh, what's more absurd than what the Democrats are doing? I mean, it's probably a challenge at the Babylon Bee to try and be a little more over the top and absurd than the Democrats are, because we've often said that their headlines look like serious headlines on certain days. And, it's kind of settling in that after November 5th, part of me is hoping we never see anything like this again. And then the professional part of me is hoping that we continue to see things just like this again. Because, first of all, it's fascinating. It just as an individual, it's fascinating to watch it. But it should be, the reason that we should never see it again is because it should be unacceptable. Everything that's broken, we should be coming to a conclusion, everyone, most, that we can't do this, and we have to make decisions to fix all of this and fix it for good. We have to, end the whole identity politics thing. We have to, there are things that's why I'm hoping that we don't see this again. Professionally, it's been every single day fascinating. I won't say enjoyment. I do get some enjoyment on certain days. But if we don't fix this, if we don't fix all of this now, then it is a decision that we make that says we're okay with this kind of behavior. In fact, we want more of it. And, I've been saying we're at a crossroads, and really, I think that was an understatement all along. It is a major, major, major election in that way, I believe.
In I think every election where Republicans have lost, I probably have said Republicans blew it. They had and with Trump in 2016, he was an outsider and ran, I thought, mostly a good campaign. He was still raw. and had his bad moments. I thought in 2020, Trump ran a horrible campaign. I thought it was horrible. And I wasn't sure what was coming now. This is what Trump has done right in this campaign. He has been disciplined. He still goes off once in a while, but everybody does in politics. But if you think of Trump going off, where people say, oh, boy, here he goes again, it's nothing compared to what the Democrats have done. The Democrats are right now, they're completely and totally unhinged.
Right.
But he has remained disciplined, and he has surrounded himself with totally credible, completely credible surrogates out there every single day promoting the 3 or 4 things that that Republicans believe. There's still differences. For example, I think Ramaswamy, I think he's mostly anti-tariff. I saw him talking a few times. I'm like, okay. But, I mean, that's going to be solved. I've said the economic issues and the differences that Republicans have, there's going to be if they all get in, there's going to be an internal war as to where we go on this.
Well, during the first Trump term, he had economic advisors that were on both sides of tariffs. So, that's you're right. That's going to happen. And that's very small compared to, what's going on right now. And
well, that will solve, as I've said, the economics right now are so bad that you got to be very careful what you do if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You can't be spending all this money. You cannot be having. What did I see the debt already in a few weeks? I saw it the other day. I got to find. I think it's $487 billion already since October 1st. We're not even through. We're not even through the month of October.
Right. Yeah,
it's almost a half of was it billion? Yeah, we're almost at $500 billion already in debt in less than a month. Well, you can't continue it. And I will say this: JD Vance addressed it yesterday, and Ramaswamy, his whole when he's part of this the whole thing, the campaign, and not the campaign, the administration, he's the one that's supposed to cut. And by the way, when you look at what he did, for example, with Twitter, what are they, 90% fewer employees than when he took over?
Right.
90% fewer. Well, but what you've seen because of that is total free speech.
Yep.
Oh, okay. We win.
Exactly.
And so, they're talking about that. They're talking about expanding the economy. And we'll see, like I said, where the whole tariff thing goes. You saw Rand Paul wrote a op-ed piece. I thought it was interesting, completely against tariffs. And it brought me back to the old times that you and I had with his dad. When we would get calls all the time. No, Ron Paul's the guy because Ron Paul's against NAFTA. And we need to get rid of NAFTA.
And he's against free trade.
And he's against free trade. He's against free trade. He's against free trade. We're like, well, no. You don't know the Pauls. The Pauls are for nothing. No rules and
unmanaged free trade.
Unmanaged free trade.
Promoted it.
Right.
Yep.
They want unmanaged free trade.
Right.
And we used to get into fights with Ron Paul supporters all the time. We're like, you don't even know where your own candidate stands.
And he had it on his website.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there for people to see.
And what did it take? 5 or 6 years before finally we stopped getting those calls?
Yeah.
It was such a lot. We're like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
That people don't even know what their own candidate, who they have such incredible loyalty to, where they even stand. But that'll be, like I said, that'll be interesting, and that'll work it out because there's not the unlimited borrowing capability that we have as a country anymore. We're just at that point where you can't continue to do it. You have to expand the economy in order to help solve the debt crisis, and you have to stop cutting back. Now, how they'll do it, we will see, but we're in for really interesting times. I don't see the Democrats at all moderating because the money that they're getting comes from the radicals.
Yep.
The money that they get is not coming from moderates. It's coming from radicals who believe in the racism of identity politics, who believe in the misogyny, the radical transgender movement, who agree with the philosophy of open borders, who agree the fact that we should be going way more in debt than we are right now. That's the problem. Now, the problem they have in supporting that is that those policies the American public believe, the majority of the American public, according to all the polls, they believe it has worked against them. I've not said this, I don't believe, as a radio talk show host, but if Trump loses, it's not the fault of the campaign they've run.
No.
And that's the first time I've ever said that about the Republican Party, and I've been, and so have you, been extremely critical of Trump campaigning in the past.
I think the difference in this cycle, what has really changed about Trump for me, is that it's clear that everything thrown at him, the lawfare and everything else, and also the people's response to that and seeing it for what it is, I don't know if it's humbled him. I don't know if humbled is the right word, but he's learned from it. I look for someone who has the ability to learn. Look, the guy doesn't flinch. I want that as, as a commander-in-chief, I want that quality in the commander-in-chief. As president, I also, if there's something that, they have done in the past and they understand, okay, look, those are things I can't do now, and what I need to do is this. And it appears on every level right now that that is the case in how they're campaigning and how his surrogates are campaigning, who he's surrounding himself with.
Scott Jennings said that yesterday. He said that Kamala's all word salad. He said, with not a single authentic bone in her body. And he said, say what you want about Trump, his inconsistencies and everything else. With everything he's gone through, people look at him going, that guy's authentic. He's really who he is. He's not trying to fake it anymore.
Right.
And you think about the drama and everything that he has gone through, and I do think that the assassination attempts have helped humanize him, and so has lawfare.
Yeah.
They've seen him. It's been a soap opera all the way. You've seen a guy who has been tested in 20 different ways with arrows coming from everywhere, and he comes out, and there is a position of strength that I believe people recognize, plus the humility that most of us would go through, I think all of us would go through, if, we came within a quarter of an inch of death.
Right.
From an assassin's bullet.
Yeah.
And so I think that's also made him stronger and made him think. But they've run a great campaign since Harris has been in. Like I said, there was the one thing that I might have overdone as many other people did, which was the black journalists interview. Where it's like, don't discuss identity politics. But as we've seen, the blacks interviewed on MSNBC, that was a key factor of them supporting Trump.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And another reason that if Trump loses this, that I won't blame the campaign, is because they've done what you need to do since she has been the candidate. And as I've said, even with the one time where Trump was criticized by both the left and right when he was bringing up the identity politics and arguing in the identity politics manner about Harris, whether she was Indian or whatever, with the black journalist group. You and I noticed that the blacks interviewed on that are leaning towards Trump now, one of the things that drove them there was that interview. Right. And her claiming that she's Indian or black when she wants to be black, Indian when. And so that might have been much more effective with the target audience, because we weren't the target audience for that.
Right.
But that was the last time where you had the right and the left criticizing Trump for arguing he argued with the identity politics argument.
Right.
But it seems to have worked with the target audience. But every day since, and I responded to a caller yesterday, well, not a caller, but somebody who emailed us and was saying, come on, guys, you guys are saying he hasn't had a bad day. The Mark Kelly thing, it's like, no, you don't understand. The whole point is, are you on the defensive every day from both sides or one day by both sides? Well, and Harris has been on the defensive from both sides, as she was from the CNN interview, as we have seen. Both sides are criticizing her. She's on the defensive every single day. Trump isn't. That's what wins you elections.
Well, and all of her secondary surrogates, the liberal activist media, they're on defensive based on things they went on the offensive about, like the whole General Kelly thing. All of a sudden, they're defending themselves on it.
Yeah.
The hit piece in The Atlantic. All of a sudden, the guy's out there trying to defend himself on it when he's clearly lying about it, according to the family and the lawyer, especially, of that murdered soldier. Those are things that you look for. It's like, why are they having to... all these hit pieces used to go on and on and on and on and on, and they didn't have to defend themselves. Not this time.
And there was no October surprise yesterday.
Nope.
Links to everything Red Eye on the website, redeyeradioshow.com.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, let's check into Morning Joe on MSNBC and Mika.
All
right.
Okay.
Here we go. All right.
His cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries. It's all huge news. This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now, that he is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us. He is putting us at risk. He is making us afraid to have babies.
Wait a minute.
What?
Did Trump advocate mandatory abortions?
Making us afraid to have babies.
Did we miss something?
Look, I'm not awake 24/7. But
I didn't see that. Let's continue, though. Here we go. Let's continue her freak out here. Okay.
He is putting our reproductive health at risk, and some women have died already because of this. So we can see right now what's coming. These headlines, and very good reporting, by the way, that shouldn't be questioned by idiots about what Trump has said about Hitler, that's incredibly important to know. But I do understand that people who are busy and that are people who are just tapping in may not be able to comprehend, because we've been free. We've been comfortable. We cannot comprehend that. And I understand that. I validate that it is hard to go from here to there. It is where we're going. I hope we don't find out the hard way. But what's happening with women right now is real, and it is playing out across America.
She looks like she's about to cry. Looking at the video.
Yeah.
I have no idea what
total freak out moment, and a moment filled with lies.
Yeah.
This is what they have to do. They have to build fear. Again, part of their daily, this is going to happen every day, try and build the ultimate fear. You know, the Hitler thing, the fascist thing. Making women afraid to have babies. We're not sure on that one. We're going to put that one on the shelf and research that one a little more, because that one's just odd.
Yeah, it was like, well, where did that?
And then she says reproductive health. Oh, you meant to say making women afraid to have abortions. Is that what you meant to say? I don't know what she meant to say. I don't know why you would say making women afraid to have babies. Tell me where that is.
And then I want to go back because she said that we had played this audio cut earlier, but it's really, really interesting because this is Mark Halperin. Mark Halperin, who is always has been a Democrat liberal, with Pennsylvania undecided voter focus group about the whole Hitler thing. And this is pretty amazing because there's 9 people in the group. All right?
Yeah.
9 undecided Pennsylvania voters. Here we go.
I can't. I think part of the reason why I'm being pushed towards Trump so strongly is that I find that the Democrats and the left just keep going straight to Hitler all of the time with everything. Like it, and if it's not the left pushing Hitler, it's the right pushing Stalin. So it's like we're fighting World War II every single day for every single election. So it's so exhausting. I think it just detracts from, it pushes me away from their position, and it's so hyperbolic that it makes it impossible to have good discussions, and I think it ruins the discourse.
Does anybody think it's valuable or something you want to hear from the vice president? Anybody? Raise your hand if you think this is something that's important for her to be talking about. Anybody?
There was no
anyone.
Yeah, no one. That's pretty amazing, and but it's stupid politics. The public has gone through. When you cry, this is the typical lesson from crying wolf, right? You've cried wolf since 2003. I'm trying to think when they started calling Bush Hitler. Yeah, it's been 20 years of calling every Republican president or candidate Hitler.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not working. We've done it for 21 years and it hasn't worked, and it's still not working. Let's triple down on it in the 21st year.
And one of the guys we called Hitler is now endorsing our candidate. Because they remember Bush wasn't in charge. We all know it was Cheney. He ran the show. He was the real president. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah. Yep.
So this is, again, and Bill Maher said it. Bill Maher summed up the whole sham when he said, well, we called Bush Hitler, we called Romney Hitler, we called John McCain Hitler, but this guy really is Hitler, referring to Trump. So I don't care what Bill Maher has said lately. He's never explained that, and I've never seen a mea culpa on that, by the way.
No.
Because he does speak out against the anti-Semitism. And I would look at that and say, well, you were building fear. You were trying to convince people this guy, Trump, would act the same way Hitler did. It's garbage, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Mika knows it, but it's all she's got. There's nothing there. There is they can't debate on the issues, so you have to build fear in people. And they've done it. People will wear those blinders all day. They'll put their heads in the sand all day long. There's plenty of them. Democrats, even if they lose November 5th, they're still going to win elections in the future.
Mm-hmm. But when will they change their radicalism? Because you have right now the most radical Democratic Party with a growing number. You look at New York, for example, in Proposition 1. Mm-hmm. Proposition 1 that would say men can now compete with women. Men can use the restrooms. Siena poll has it almost at 70% for.
Yeah.
So they have for their radical. I'm not saying that the base of the entire Democrat Party is growing, because from all the polls we've seen, more people now are identifying as Republicans. And so overall it might not help, but you have a growing number of people that call themselves Democrats that now support these unbelievable, radical ideas that are more radical than any political party has held in the history of the United States. And you're saying, well, no, racism is. Well, they practice racism with their identity politics, judging people by the groups they're in and not individuals.
Well, they're getting control. In fact, what they want to do is get control over a society through that. I mean, think about that. And get control over a group of people based on their skin color.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what they want. Tell me anything more dangerous.
And you had one of the writers from The Atlantic yesterday say, well, that's, the blacks and Hispanics are moving over because they're not educated.
Right.
He actually said that. They're not educated, and so they're moving over because the educated people know that the person to talk to is the person to vote for is Harris.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with education.
Right.
It has to do with brainwashing. Here it is. Okay, this is George Packer from The Atlantic, who has the paper's been throwing out lies, as we know, over the last couple of days. Here we go. Okay.
But the sharpest divide in our politics today is education. It's whether you have a college degree or not. That is the likeliest determinant of whether you're going to vote Republican or Democratic. And that's why we're seeing larger numbers, and I met some of them in Western Pennsylvania, of Latinos and black voters who are moving toward Trump.
You're not educated. That's why. No, you're not. You've realized that you've been brainwashed and you don't wish to be brainwashed anymore.
They believe you're stupid. Right. We don't believe that. We believe people are capable of making their own decisions. Whether they make decisions I disagree with or not, we've said this from the beginning. The liberals believe this is how they think. They really do believe people are stupid.
Now, I'm educated. Because I have a college degree.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm educated.
Yeah, where'd that get you?
Here.
Sitting across from the uneducated guy. Yeah.
Well, I said this a long time ago because you've always seen this type of class warfare being promoted. And it's funny because when you see, right now, basically it's class warfare. Blacks and Hispanics aren't educated because they don't have college degrees. And because the working class, the non-college educated people are moving towards Trump, this is a case of educated versus not educated. No, it's a case of people that are brainwashed versus people that will not be brainwashed, and people that were brainwashed and decided not to be brainwashed any longer. I've always been, you and I have always said we've had people that have called the show, not anymore because we really came down on it for about 5 years. They'd call the show and say, look, I'm just a truck driver, or I just work at a 7-Eleven, or I'm just somebody who's a janitor. And we said, don't say that. That's what they want you. That's what they want. These college-educated people are not educated. They're brainwashed.
Yep.
There is no difference. I would think no different if I had a high school education or my college education that I have. I would think no different at all.
Right.
My thought process of how I process ideas are based on connecting the dots and critical thinking and getting to the truth. And any of these concepts, and this is the thing, this is where the elitism comes in from this Atlantic writer, by trying to make the comparison that it's educated people versus non-educated people. And, of course, the non-educated, the stupid people, are voting for Trump. I said this when I worked. I worked as a machinist. I worked as on automobiles. I've done just so many blue collar things in my life. What I found out is the vast majority of technical blue collar workers out there know more than most people who go to college.
Yeah, right.
If you are a good machinist or have been a good machinist, if you can run a computerized lathe or grinder, if you're an expert in those type of areas, if you work if you're an electrician, if you're a plumber, if you're a truck driver who has to plan your day and you've got to be prepared for any emergency out there. If you're a janitor, I know that was my first job. You can understand all these concepts. You're just as smart. That's just a job you're working now. You're just as smart as these people that think they're smart, and they're damn idiots is what they are. They're idiots. They're brainwashed idiots, and they feel that if they go to 4 years or 8 years sitting listening to insane propaganda that somehow they're more educated than you, they're full of manure.
Well, and, I think of a truck driver who knows what's going on with a Class 8 engine, and they can tell you everything of, how it works, even the modern Class 8 engines. And, it's mind-boggling. And I've been very close to it for years, and I feel like the one getting the education when I'm talking to them. When they're talking to me, that's, the point where I shut up and they do the talking. And those are we look at things, if you've hired contractors, if you've hired, if you've been around people who actually do the work, who actually build things, repair things, move things, some of them are highly educated, but also you'll find that in terms of a college degree, but you'll also find that those people that are in the fields like the field of medicine or, engineering with an engineering degree, they're putting that education to practical work. It's most often a very different type of individual who would probably be doing something like that with or without that education. I'm not saying they would qualify to do certain things, but their mindset would be, I want to accomplish those things. And those are the things where the left has been so dismissive about who we are as a society. And they want to, it's this really weird rebranding thing, where they just go out and, now everything had this feel of a weird movie with these weird political commercials in it. That's how the left has behaved.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio, back with more.
This is Red Eye Radio. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here. Let's get through a few other things going on. Canada plans to significantly reduce the number of immigrants it allows into the country over the next few years as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau reverses course amid falling public support for immigration.
Oh, okay.
This is from Brittany Bernstein, National Review. Canada previously set a target of 500,000 new permanent residents in 2025 under the new immigration plan. Canada will decrease that target by 21%. After 2025, the limit will shrink by roughly 4% each year as the government looks to set a target of 365,000 new permanent residents by 2027. And for the first time ever, Canada will set a target for temporary immigrants. The new limitations, which will impact international students and foreign workers, will see admittance of non-permanent residents drop by roughly 445,000 in 2025 and 2026. This is temporary to pause our population growth and let the economy catch up, Trudeau said. The prime minister said during the news conference that the new plan is being put into place because the country did not get the balance quite right.
Oh, really?
The new policy marks an about-face from Trudeau's previously support for immigration that had allowed for a record increase in immigration to the country since he took office in 2015. Immigration has driven 97% of the country's population growth as it now contends with bad housing shortages, inflated rent prices. Oh, I've got Canadian friends. The complaints about the rent in Canada is actually much greater than in the United States.
They're saying the rent is too damn high?
Yes. Inflated rent prices, strained public services, and rising unemployment. The country's unemployment rate is particularly high among young people, 14% compared to 6.5% unemployment overall. 58% of Canadians now feel that immigration levels are too high, according to a poll by Everonics Institute, which found public opinion on immigration levels has effectively flipped from being acceptable, if not valuable, to problematic. Nonetheless, Trudeau's sudden flip on the issue comes after years of him touting the importance of immigration. You know, you and I talked about the polling out there that every single state in the United States, including Mississippi, that's always, you know, not always, but normally at the lower end of the spectrum.
Right.
I was going to say always last, not always last, but most of the time they have been. When it comes to economics, the worst state in the United States, whatever that is right now, and we did this a couple of weeks ago, the worst state in the United States, still the per capita income and what you have, the quality of life, is better than the best province in Canada.
You know, it's the leadership in Canada has again gotten on this whole identity politics thing, and it's on every level. You know, you can't use the wrong pronouns, even with your own child. You'll go to jail. You think about how you build a nation, right? If you're looking to increase your population, to increase productivity as a nation, expand the wealth of your nation, but liberals don't believe in that. You know, the problem with somebody who thinks like Trudeau, with expanding wealth, you know, bringing people in, which is required if your population isn't growing, if as a society your country isn't having babies and growing to the point necessary to expand an economy, well, then you have to bring people in. Well, then today's age, Canada's thinking exactly a lot like the U.S. Hold on a second. We want to temper immigration. We want a greater vetting process. We want to, you know, so the economy has to kind of, you know, when you talk about expanding the economy, Trump talked about it the day that Jim Acosta was, in fact, it was exactly what they were talking about, the back and forth, when Mike Hogg Acosta decided, you know, he wasn't going to give any of the
Mike Hogg. I thought it sounded like a middle name. I go, Mike Hogg. Oh, Mike Hogg.
Yeah.
I was like,
microphone hog.
Yes.
He and that's what the other, even the other liberal journalists were saying. The guy just stole the microphone and wouldn't give it up. But that day, that exchange was about, you know, bringing more people in. We want more legal immigration. Well, in the U.S., just like within Canada, the people are going, not right now. You know, and but, you know, the thing is that I think Trudeau is okay with not expanding the economy, because an expanding economy, greater wealth for everybody, means they're going to want greater choices. They're going to insist on controlling their own lives and less control by government and all of that. And, you know, But the fact is that it's on immigration in general. The everything for the U.S., everything is broken so badly. By the way, I have to believe that, and I don't know this, but I have to believe that there's, I don't know if spillover is the right word, but the people that are coming here to the U.S., it's the same issue. I do know this. It's the same issue with any nation. Wait a minute. Whoa. We need to know who these people are and why they're here. Even if we're talking legal immigration, there needs to be a greater vetting process. And there needs to be a greater enforcement process of that. You know, it's one thing to allow someone to get a visa, then you've got to enforce that. Okay, where are they years later or, a year later? And Canada's facing what only, look, if you look at Brexit, what was Brexit about? Well, the EU, you had people making decisions that those citizens didn't have any say-so over those people. There was no accountability there. But also it was about, also the immigration, the crossing borders thing. It's too easy to cross borders. And that started to become a problem. And it was part of why Brexit happened. People were tired of that border, we're just going to kind of erase the borders along the way. And this whole EU thing, we actually want a greater vetting process in play. Canada's seeing that right now. Even Trudeau can't deny that. Their population is much smaller. It's a fraction of what it is in the U.S. They have great potential in terms of their economy. But the other problem with that, too, is where is a huge portion of that is in Alberta. And the sands oil is not something they want to promote if you're on the left, if you're a liberal. Sorry, they call that, in fact, dirty oil. For our friends in Alberta, we know that it's, it's a great resource for your nation and for your province. But, the left doesn't want that at all. That, by the way, too, was part of the whole Keystone XL pipeline. Well, there's dirty oil, the argument over the years. That was part of it. They don't know where to go. The left makes so many rules along the way that they end up, in this, we talked about it here in the States. Now the liberals have gotten so bad, they pass the bill to get the money and still can't spend it because they've created even more rules on how the money is going to be spent.
And what was the last one? We had the broadband, and what was the last one? EV stations.
Yeah, the EV stations.
They've got billions of dollars. That liberalism, this is the thing about liberalism.
You create too many rules.
They've created so many rules that they can still get the money and borrow the money. But even when they get the money, they've got so many rules, they can't spend the money.
Exactly.
That's how incredibly bad liberals have gotten.
Think about this. In Canada, Trudeau, like a lot of liberals, he wants the credit for a growing economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he also wants the liberal street cred of we're welcoming as a nation. So we want to expand immigration, people coming into our country. Well, like any country, the citizens of those countries are going to say, whoa. We want a greater vetting process. We don't actually want to open it wider. We want to be, in fact, more strict on who we allow in. But the liberals create their own brick walls. They go in one direction, but they've already built a brick wall that's going to stop them in that same direction, including spending money. I mean, it's everywhere you look.
Oh, my friends and acquaintances in Toronto are just livid about rent prices. The cost of living there is just is just amazingly horrible.
Right.
But you would mention about climate change. Bjorn Lomborg had an op-ed piece. People, if you don't know who Bjorn Lomborg is, you might have seen him on Fox News, but he is somebody who believes that, climate change is being affected by man. He's not sure of what degree it is, but he believes that man affects, because of the global warming gases, that man is affecting the climate.
Right.
Now, he doesn't know. He doesn't think it's a great deal, but he believes they are. But he believes that everything the left is doing to solve the problem is wrong.
Yeah.
But he had another one. He goes, Harris stops talking about climate change as the high. And you think about it. She doesn't bring up climate change or fossil fuels. People ask her the question.
Right.
But he says, as the high cost of green policies hit, it's becoming a lose-lose issue for politicians on the left.
Yeah.
You might think that Harris could use the partisan divide on climate policy to her advantage. If she hammered Mr. Trump's frequent comments on drill, baby, drill, maybe it could drive turnout from liberal voters who fear the Republican would increase fossil fuel production. She has hardly been neutral on the issue in the past, but she's not talking about it right now. And as we said, unless she is asked. One reason for her silence is that, despite a media and elite fixation on the climate, the issue can easily become a vote loser. Cutting emissions is a particular problem in swing states like Pennsylvania, where policies would lead to sweeping layoffs of energy workers. Across the country, Americans rank climate change far down among their priorities. As climate policy turns from distant, grandiose promises of future carbon cuts into the very real prospect of present-day energy price hikes, U.S. voters are asking whether it's worth it. This is, are you ready here? Here we go, because we've talked about reality on the border and reality on inflation. Are the two most important, but we've also talked about reality in energy prices. We have on the show. U.S. voters are asking whether it's worth it. This is the first presidential election in which the economic consequences of green ideals have become real, with less reliable power and higher total energy costs. It's the case we've made about this election in general.
Yeah.
That inflation, which includes energy cost, of course, but it's inclusive in there. But you think about that. You think about the climate change. You think about unions. If you think about it, unions now moving more towards Republicans is because their idiot management agreed with the government to produce EVs. We're going to get subsidies to produce EVs. We can't make a profit on it. And finally, the leaders of the unions woke up and said, let me say, so we're a union and we're supposed to share the profits of the company. Well, the company has made a deal with the government because they get taxpayer dollars and they don't want to be regulated out of business. The companies have agreed to produce a product that Americans don't want, that nobody really wants, that even if they sell them, they can't make a profit on. My union leader, that has been supporting Democrats as the rank and file has been moving in a different direction. We just figured out that probably isn't the best way, that if the company is forced to produce more and more of a product that they can't make a profit on, hey, that might affect the life of the union.
Yeah. Gee, funny how that works.
And I say that's not directed at union workers. That's directed at the management.
Right. We'll have stuff directed at the workers in the next segment.
Eric will. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on compliance, safety, accountability. Compliance Safety Accountability, or CSA, is the FMCSA Safety Compliance and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety and to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on our roads. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers based on data collected during roadside inspections, crash reports, and FMCSA investigations. Based on the data that is compiled, motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked to determine intervention priority. Low scores are better, so carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, reading here, and we'll get to more of this following the bottom of the hour, but with Bjorn Lundberg's column about the fact that Harris isn't talking about climate change or isn't talking about even the Inflation Reduction Act and what it will do.
Right.
She's not volunteering any of that stuff.
Right.
Said because she can't. Because if you look at it, they can't justify it, and you think about it then, that because of the movement, the two biggest issues during the Obama administration, you and I always talked about this. Now, nobody really cared about it. Nobody thought it was a major problem, but it was always race and climate change, to the point where you and I said, do you think that they've looked at this and said, look, let's really be concerned about the things that Americans don't view as a great problem, and if we talk passionate about it, it can't hurt us. Right. It can't help us, but it can't hurt us because nobody really cares about those particular issues. But now think about it. With the movement now of blacks and Hispanics towards Trump, they can't talk race or climate change. And if they talk race, it's insulting blacks is what they're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not your safe place. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. Continuing with the op-ed piece of Bjorn Lundberg wrote in the Wall Street Journal, and I said again, he's an interesting he's an interesting person to talk about because he believes again that man-made global warming gases is probably affecting the climate in some way. Mm-hmm. But he believes everything the left is doing is completely wrong.
Right.
And so it's an interesting perspective. People have asked all the time, but I get asked the question all the time. So is it affecting the atmosphere? Well, could be. I don't know. Nobody really knows. Yeah. The biosphere is too big for anybody really to know, and we haven't seen any drastic changes anywhere. And so if it is, it's minuscule, but everything that the Democrats are doing is the opposite of what they should be doing. If it is affecting it.
Right.
But as they write here, as climate policy turns from distant, grandiose promises of future carbon cuts into the very real prospect of present-day energy price hikes, U.S. voters are asking whether it's worth it. This is, and I want to make sure that, because this is so important with this election, because everything we see, inflation is a part of this situation too. because the whole climate change legislation is costing you more money.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we would talk about inflation and increased prices, this is where reality has now hit what the hypotheticals have been. And by the way, every single hypothetical climate change apocalypse never has come true.
Right.
Every single one. Not one has come true that has been promoted from the left. But this is the first presidential election in which the economic consequences of green ideals have become real, with less reliable power and higher total energy cost. A new YouGov survey shows that less than 25% of the electorate supports a rapid transition to renewables. Among Democrats, the idea only gets about a third of respondents' support. Only 47% of voters said that they would support spending even $1 more a month on their electricity bill to fight climate change. Underlying this electoral problem for Ms. Harris is a tricky policy one. The climate policies she would offer promise huge costs for negligible benefits. It'd be one thing to ask for sacrifices that could save the planet, but even at a whopping official price tag of $369 billion over 10 years, the Inflation Reduction Act's climate measures, as written, were likely to lower the projected global temperature in 2100 by less than 0.03 of a degree. In reality, the Inflation Reduction Act has turned out to be even a rawer deal. The cost has rapidly ballooned from $369 billion to north of $3 trillion, as, by the way, Republicans predicted. Over 30 to 40 years, even as emission cuts have been slower and smaller than predicted. No wonder Ms. Harris is not talking about it. The truth of the matter is that nothing that Harris does to cut carbon can stop climate change. It's developing nations that are driving emissions in this century. Even if the U.S. achieved net zero carbon emissions overnight and stayed that way for the rest of the century, basically destroying its economy and much of the American quality of life, the 2100 projected global temperature would only drop 0.3 degree Fahrenheit based on the United Nations climate model. Climate policy has increasingly become a lose-lose for progressive politicians. Mentioning climate change policies alienates moderate voters who worry about the tremendous cost. And acknowledging these downsides alienates young voters who are enthusiastic about green ideals. If you admit net zero could be a bit unrealistic, they feel betrayed. Cynically, though, the same green activist groups that urge the Biden administration to spend trillions on climate policies have publicly supported Ms. Harris's decision to stay quiet about the climate. They worry that being too green in the campaign could turn off voters. But if Ms. Harris wins, they'll be right back at the White House lobbying for even more expensive policies. A far more honest approach from advocates and politicians would be to abandon unrealistic, expensive carbon cuts for cheap investments in green energy research and development. American ingenuity could hasten the day the world finds a cleaner energy source that is genuinely cheaper than current fossil fuels, whether it be much cheaper solar and wind energy with massive storage. That's not coming. Fourth-generation nuclear or another technology altogether. Countries could then voluntarily transition to green energy because it's cheaper. Not only would American voters get on board, but so would the century's biggest emitters, India, China, and Africa. He's saying exactly what we've said here. For politicians, climate change was much easier to sell when it involved far-off, monumental promises. Everything has been that way. Everything.
Well, it is the
government spending, everything.
It's the greatest of the abstract, right? You know, when you can say, one day it's going to be like this. One day it's going to be like this. It kind of is, when you talk about climate change, the threats have been the same way. Listen, they were saying in 1989, that if you work in the D.C. area, by the year 2000, you'll have to take a gondola to work. By the way, they did apparently take our advice because word came out. We said, look, when you guys do your whole global warming thing, don't show up in a blizzard. You want to go into Augusta, Georgia, when it's the hottest part of the year, high humidity, and turn all the AC off. And then we found out years later, remember, that they actually worked to turn the AC off when they were testifying and when they were doing that whole thing in 1989. Mm-hmm. The far-off promise, the far-off threat is the best thing you can do because you're not going to be around politically to see it or pay for it. There's no consequences for you. That's down the road. Somebody else is going to remember when Chris Christie talking to the firefighters, about their pensions. Look, for years, they've been lying to you. I'm here to tell you the money's gone. There's no more money. I know I'm the bad guy, but they're the ones that lied to you and made the promise they could never fulfill. They don't, because you don't worry about it when it's in the abstract. And now you've got so many liberals that, with California and federal mandates and all of this, that have moved in that direction. It's not just about, buying carbon credits or a carbon tax or cap and trade type policy to save the planet long term. We're talking about mandates that are going to be in our lifetime if they hold. And they are affecting people because the OEMs then on those mandates, the manufacturers, the producers of this country have to look at it and say, oh, well we got to fix that now.
One of the biggest reasons.
We got to do this now. We got to get in compliance now.
One of the biggest reasons that union members are supporting Trump is because of the climate change policies of the Democrats that their management, the leadership of the unions, have supported all along.
Right.
And this is why we have said the leadership of the unions betrayed the union worker, because the unions went along with the companies to the point, the absurd point, that the auto workers union earlier this year, you remember, was it earlier this year or was that last year they did that? When did they strike the deal?
That was last
Was that last year?
Yeah, I think that was last year.
The absurdity of, well, look, if the company gets the taxpayer subsidies, then union salaries need to be subsidized by taxpayer subsidies. That's how bizarre it's gotten.
Yeah.
And the union finally somebody woke up one day. We've been preaching it for 20 years now. That the union leadership on both immigration and electric vehicles have betrayed the unions.
Yep.
Because they want them to produce a product that nobody can make a profit on. Yep. And they're throwing taxpayer subsidies in, but they still can't make a profit on it. And the unions finally woke up one day and said, well, this is stupid. Why would our leadership be agreeing with management? We understand management feeling intimidated by the government. But why is our leadership going along with it when it's going to kill it? Why did our leadership not be completely outraged when Biden shut down the Keystone XL pipeline with the loss of tens of thousands of union jobs, and then just spit in their face, said, oh, learn to code.
Yeah.
Learn to code.
Right.
Just learn to code. You have to learn to code. And even his Secretary of Energy, his climate czar. Anybody debating that Kerry was the climate czar? I haven't seen anybody debating that he was the climate.
No, I think John Kerry himself actually has a huge mural in his own living room that says the world's first climate czar.
And
I could be wrong about
and,
that or making it up.
And even his transportation secretary said, what are you talking about? You know, we're all people that believe climate change is happening. What you're doing is the opposite of what we should be doing, but it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered, this is the consequences we face right now is exactly what Rush Limbaugh talked about.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party is symbolism over substance. Everything is symbolism. Nothing in the real world matters to them at all.
Right.
Now the real world has hit, and people have said, well, the real world's hit. And so what's the reaction of the Democrats? Word salad. That's the only thing they can – they understand that the word salad is not just because she's clueless. The word salad comes from the fact that they can't promote what they actually wish to do because the American public has seen the reality of their policies and know that it doesn't work, and it's caused the problems that we face today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's anytime you're not that you're only worried about the symbolism and not getting to the heart of the problem, not, again, trying to fix things or make things better, then nothing is going to get fixed. Nothing is going to get better. I mean, that's just the math of it all. And that's where we are. It really is the culmination of that. And whether it's represented in this election cycle or not is yet to be seen. But I think we have plenty of signs that tell us that people are done.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So that's what the election's about right now. The election's about the fact that we've reached the point, and if you're a longtime listener to the show, you know we've been saying this for ages, that this is really the first presidential election, the first election we're going to have, presidential election, where reality has finally come up against the hypotheticals of liberalism. And they're no longer hypotheticals. We know. We know now that inflation is caused by too much government spending. We know that that's why you see the people on the climate change. They don't want the climate change legislation if they have to pay $1 more.
Right.
They don't want it.
Right.
You know, oh, yeah, well, I think it's great to have clean energy. I got to pay for it. No, I don't want it. Nope, don't do it.
Quite unfortunately, that's not how bills are passed. Bills are passed, and then all of a sudden you're paying more anyway.
Right.
The liberals make sure of that.
And then on the border, what has happened over the last couple of years is the fact that now every city and every major liberal city is now a border city.
Right.
So reality is hit there. That's why. That's the problem. It's not that she's incapable of talking about the issues. It's that she can't talk about the issues. That's why you see the panic. She can't tell you what she truly believes.
Right.
Can you imagine going out there as a politician and you're told you can't talk about anything that you really believe?
Right.
Then where the hell do you go?
Well,
you get word salad is what you get. That's really the problem that nobody is talking about in the mainstream media. That reality has finally hit all of the liberal hypotheticals. They're no longer hypotheticals. They've hit reality.
Because it's not politically viable to go out and promote what you actually believe. They know that.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.